I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. It's Thursday.
Never get the hang of Thursdays. Shout out to everybody grabbing your towel who gets that reference this morning. I love you guys.
I don't know what was the literary reference. You said it was a literary reference.
Yeah, it's a literary reference. It's Arthur Dent from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, gotcha.
He goes, yeah, it must be Thursday. Never get the hang of Thursdays. As he's standing there, understanding that Earth is about to be destroyed. So yes, yeah, it's a great line.
Well
it's just
done.
it's just so subdued. It's so English. Yeah, so I love that one.
We've got a fire show for you today. 710 KNUS in Denver.
And now on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range. This is the Jeff and Bill Show. And we've got a lot of great guests. Derek Maltz, former acting administrator for the DEA, the top dog for a while at the DEA, is going to join us, give us an update on what's happening in Mexico, cartels, how the DEA is responding to all this. We'll talk with Derek. Kelly Caulfield, Executive Director of Common Sense Institute, will join us regarding the financial loss to Denver of Palantir moving. How many jobs, financial revenue, taxes is heading to Florida with them. They've got the latest report from the Common Sense Institute. Gabe Evans, Congressman, District 8, northern parts of just north of Denver, will give us the latest on the response to the State of the Union, his campaign, immigration issues, Colorado ICE, Denver's proposed mask ban, sanctuary city policies, even the redistricting map. So much to cover with Congressman Gabe Evans in the 8 o'clock hour, plus changes that may be coming to mail-in ballots in Colorado. You might be getting them earlier, and if you're looking to challenge the voter rolls, well, that might be heading out too. What's behind all of this? We'll cover this and more. Now it's time for the news.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It's Thursday, 44 and clear in Denver, 45 in the Springs. Expecting highs in the lower 60s today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning for new home heating and cooling system. Contact your Lennox dealer, Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at pastorcamp.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Our top story, 5 people were injured after that grass fire that broke out north of Pinnacle High School in Thornton on Wednesday. It caused road closures in the area, including stops on I-25. The high winds blew the fire east before it was contained. 4 of the 5 injured were firefighters. Douglas County Sheriff's Office investigating after a hiker found human remains on Wednesday during their hike. A search and rescue team searched the area near Crawford Valley Road and Pradera Parkway southeast of Castle Pines, and they didn't provide any more information. The U.S. and Iran are holding another round of indirect nuclear talks today in Geneva. They're seen as last-ditch efforts.
The talks come after President Trump warned about Iran's ballistic missiles reaching Europe and claimed Iran had not promised to forego nuclear weapons in his State of the Union speech. But Tehran's foreign minister says Iran will not build a nuclear bomb and wants to use nuclear power for civil energy.
Wednesday, the DJT administration announced new sanctions against Iran, targeting individuals, companies, and ships the U.S. says are involved in illicit oil sales as well as Iran's missile program.
U.S. negotiators remain hopeful a deal could be agreed, but if not, then Washington may resort to a military strike on Iran from one of the many naval and air force assets it's been assembling in the region in recent weeks.
1 out of 5 Americans support a war with Iran. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. is investigating after the Cuban Coast Guard opened fire on a Florida-registered speedboat killing 4 and injuring 6 others. The Cuban embassy in the U.S. said the boat was detected in territorial waters near Cuba, and when border guard troops approached the vessel, they were shot at. The claim is that those on board were trying to infiltrate Cuba for terrorist purposes. However, there's been some reporting that the incident involved a U.S. civilian boat that was part of a flotilla to get family members out of the communist nation. Rubio said he can't take the Cuban report about the event at face value, adding the U.S. will get to the bottom of what happened. Bill and Hillary Clinton scheduled to appear for a high-profile depositions in the House to answer questions about their ties to Epstein and everything surrounding the satanic vampire atrocities. Hillary will be deposed today, followed by the former president on Friday. The Clintons say they're being selectively prosecuted by Republicans on the committee. Nuggets run past the Celtics last night, 103-84 in Lodo, and the Avs back at it. They beat the Mammoth in Salt Lake City last night. They are 38-9-9. 45 in the Springs, 44 in Denver. That's the latest. I'm Blake Olson. More of the Jeff and Bill Show ahead on News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver, and now on AM 1460 and FM 101.1 The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you hear both sides. We are the Jeff and Bill Show.
Very mild, but also very windy conditions along the I-25 corridor today, from Denver to Monument Hill down into Colorado Springs and all the way down into Pueblo. We're going to be looking at really border to border, New Mexico to the Wyoming border, strong winds along I-25 as we have powerful jet stream winds streaking from the Pacific into the Rockies. Now, this has been productive overnight. The higher mountains in northern Colorado saw good snow and will see good snow through tonight. That'll help out the snowpack, but snow levels are going to be quite high due to the very mild temperatures in the 60s today, 50s and 60s tomorrow, then well into the 60s for Friday and Saturday as temperatures are going to stay well above average into the weekend. Do be ready for strong gusty winds and mostly cloudy skies. There is a slight chance of a shower tonight as some of that moisture could come off the mountains. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
We also got a lot of fentanyl in the state. I was listening to that going, well, we got a lot of good things going for us, and we got a lot of bad things.
Oddly, though, we shouldn't put those in station advertisements.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't help.
Goodness.
Yeah.
You've seen the record-breaking seizures that have taken place in Colorado with fentanyl. 1 in 10 pills in America is being seized here in Colorado. We have a major, major problem. This is why I so appreciate the great work of the men and women of the DEA. And thanks to Stephen Tubbs, formerly with the station here, who's now their PIO, Public Information Officer. We have a great connection with them to be able to understand the work that they're doing, the risks that they're taking, most importantly, what they're doing to save lives in America. They're on the front lines. And today we have an incredible opportunity to be able to talk to the former acting administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration. Derek Maltz joins us now. I think the right title is former acting administrator. I'll start with that. Derek, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to the conversation.
28 years with the DEA. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for this nation. Tell us, I want to just hear about your time as former acting administrator. Tell us about that.
Okay, so first of all, just to be really clear, my favorite trip was to Colorado to meet with the leaders in Colorado, to go out on the streets in Aurora, Colorado, to see where those TDA monsters took over the facilities, the whole apartment complex. And the briefings that I got were fascinating. The work that's being done by DEA Rocky Mountain Division is really amazing. I know the boss out there, Dave Oleski. He's done tremendous work. So it was a really great trip. But the point is, and you kind of hit on it earlier, Colorado has been like really a prime location for mass amounts of fake pills. The fentanyl seizures have been like off the charts. Actually, I do a lot of presentations around the country now, and I still use the photograph of the 1.7 million pills that the Colorado law enforcement agencies, DEA, seized several months ago, which is a very, very large seizure. You know, obviously that can kill a lot of people, so they're saving lives. But so, yeah, I was there for several months in the job. I had a great time, great people, great investigations, great partners. But at the end of the day, you know, I left, and now I'm helping any way I can, you know, doing media, helping my families all over the country who lost their children from this poison. So thank you for having me.
Well, it is one of the top killers of Americans. And that's why I appreciate so much the fact the president has labeled these cartels as narco-terrorist organizations, because what happened on 9/11, horrible, 3,000 innocent Americans dying. Fentanyl is killing 100,000 a year. It needs to be treated as a terrorist organization. These cartels need to be treated like that. And it seems like you guys got the tools, you got the resources, and most importantly, you got the permission to really start to treat these cartels as the terrorist organizations they are. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, Derek Maltz?
Yes, a couple of things. Number one, I was very vocal around 2018-19. I was putting out memes. I was talking on national media about how the Trump 1 should be designating these cartels as terrorists, because we've never had any organization in the history of America kill this many Americans. So if you took Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hezbollah, put them together, it wouldn't even come close to what the cartels have done to our citizens. But that being said, of course, the Washington bureaucrats during 2019 convinced President Trump it was too aggressive. These are our partners in Mexico. You can't do it. So he didn't do it. So he listened to the wrong people, unfortunately. But then when he came back, and I was there the first day, he immediately decided he was going to label the cartels as terrorists. And not only did he label them as terrorists, but he actually backed up his words with action. We've never had in the history of America where you had kinetic strikes against these drug boats. We've never seen this level of cooperation with the Mexican government. We have now had 92 high-level operatives removed from Mexico and sent to America I know I was there in February last year. Mexican military plane landed at Dulles Airport, and we had the leaders of Los Zetas cartel, Z40, Z42, and we had Mencho's brother. And then up in New York, they sent Rafael Caro Quintero, who was the alleged killer of Kiki Camarena, the DEA agent from 1985. We've never seen this level of, cooperation. Now, here's why it's happening. Because this president is a president of action, and what he says is what he does. It's not just political bullshit. Excuse my language, but I've seen enough of that in Washington. And this guy in this administration is putting their words into action, and the DEA and Homeland Security Investigations, FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals, and all the state and local agencies are coming together. They're working together. Just like if you watched all those videos and stuff that was being done in Aurora against the TDA monsters, as I call them, it was so refreshing to see the interagency groups working together, and some of the bravery of going into these locations, these nightclubs, to remove these illegal, gangsters from our country. So there's so much positive stuff going on, but obviously we have a long way to go. There's much more dangerous drugs than fentanyl on the street now because the Chinese criminal networks are bombing our country with chemicals. It's been going on for many, many years. I lived this nightmare when I was at the Special Operations Division for 10 years before I first retired. But here's the deal. Carfentanil is 100 times more potent than fentanyl. They just seized 628,000 fake carfentanil fake pills containing carfentanil in Los Angeles in November. And guess what? Here's the sad part. The national media didn't even report it. It was a story that was buried. I just had to put it out on social media because nobody's paying attention. Edenidazine, metanidazine, protonidazine, nitazines, isonitazines, they're all over the street. And people in this country are making their own pills. We've had pill mills, dismantled by the DEA and their counterparts in Colorado. They bring the pill presses in, they buy them online, and they make their own pills. They import, in some cases, their own chemicals into these houses in our country, and they make the pills. So we have devastation going on. What's missing, just so you know, to be crystal clear, we need the same sense of urgency that we've seen on the supply side, on the demand side. We have to teach these kids that the illicit drug supply is poison, and people have to wake the hell up. And parents, this is about your kids. It's not like someone else's problem. It's a whole of America problem. That's what we need to solve it. So it's not just going after the cartel leaders. It's this much more complex problem set.
That's exactly right. That's Derek Maltz. He served as acting administrator for the Drug Enforcement Administration right from the time Trump took office, January 2025 through May 2nd of 2025. 28 years with the DEA. He's been on the front lines. I do want to talk to you about Aurora because we've lived this. This show broadcasts from Aurora. We went down to those apartment complexes and spoke with the residents there. But the media in Colorado, even the governor said, no. This isn't a Venezuelan gang issue. This is a landlord-tenant dispute. This is the governor saying it was a feature of our imagination. You were on the front lines. You said you came here and visited. Tell us what you saw was actually happening in Aurora with Tren de Aragua.
Okay, so let me just, again, I like to be crystal clear. So I served 28 years. My father was in 30 years. My brother came back in a body bag from Afghanistan fighting for this country. So we are a law enforcement public service family. So we care about human life, okay? And what I learned on the front lines in Aurora from my men and women that were out there, and I learned stuff that I didn't even realize. Like, how is it possible in America that all these gangsters take over an apartment building and then extort every single tenant for the rent? So the landlord wasn't even getting the rent. These monsters were taking the rent from these poor people that are just trying to survive and have a living, and they were paying their rent to illegal migrants from Venezuela who were exported by the Maduro regime, and then to have these people, these irresponsible media people, and these pathetic politicians actually lying to the public. And that's what made me really proud of the DEA and the others out there working together. Because when I was out there, the DEA, like I said, they not only took me out on the front lines, but they had the teams out there briefing me on the cases as well, which I'm not going to get into. It's sensitive information. But the reality is that they stood up strong and they exposed it. But then they went in harm's way and they went and hit these nightclubs at night once President Trump came on board and it was clear that they were going to go after these illegals and get them out of the country. It was really exciting to see the level of passion, enthusiasm, and professionalism on how they work to go after these guys. So, but it is a disgrace. And you know what? There's an old saying, elections have consequences. So for the people in Colorado, wake the hell up. You're voting for people that don't care about your public safety and national security. At the end of the day, you can have all the money in the world. You can have all the fancy cars and houses. If you don't have public safety and national security, you have nothing. So it's disgraceful, it's pathetic, and it's just unbelievable to understand how people can vote for politicians that lie to them. It's really, really sad.
Well, and it was heartbreaking because Danielle Jurinsky, Aurora City Council, was breaking all this information. She was helping try to move these innocent victims out of the apartment complexes. She was working to reduce crime. It was measurable. Crime was going down in Aurora. And then the voters replaced her with more progressive people, and you're watching all these soft on crime policies come back. Joining us, Derek Maltz, former acting administrator, Drug Enforcement Administration, 28 years of service on the front lines. I want to dive into Mexico. What did you see there? The strikes against El Mencho. The guy's visiting his love shack up in the mountains. And from what we understand is that the United States provided some intelligence resources. But what did you see happening here and then the response from the cartels in Mexico? Give us your analysis.
So a couple of things. Number one, it was a spectacular operation led by the Mexican Special Forces. That's number one. Number two, again, I keep saying this, but I just want to be really clear. The U.S. government, the DEA, HSI, FBI, intel community have been providing intelligence to the Mexican government for a very, very long time. This didn't start just yesterday, right? So they will provide whatever data they can to try to, zero in on these high-value targets. The difference this time is that President Trump has been putting such amazing, pressure on the Mexican government because they know that he's a man of action, so they stepped up their game. Like I said, they've already brought in 92 high-value targets to America to face justice, so they were determined to get this guy. He's been public enemy number one for many years, ever since Chapo, Guzman, and Sinaloa cartel went down. So this was very, very obvious to me that this was going to happen one day. I was quite surprised it happened this quickly. And ultimately, the most wanted man in the Western Hemisphere is no longer a threat to the U.S. national security. And when we see the pills all over the place and we see the deaths of these kids all over, my whole wall in my house, in my office, is covered with babies and kids that have died. So this guy was a monster, and ultimately he got what he deserved. But the job's not done, right? So you saw what they did. They tried to intimidate, and they retaliated. They were blowing up buses, blowing up cars, buildings on fire, blockades. The tourists were panicking. They were told to shelter in place. The good news is it seems like the Mexican government has responded appropriately. It looks like from the reporting, I'm not on the ground, but it looks like things are settling down. I heard that the reports were that they've lifted the shelter in place orders, so that's a good thing. But these are terrorists, and that's what people don't understand. When you're going on a vacation, you have to evaluate if you're going down there. And I'm not saying not to go there, but, it's not just about a cheap vacation because it's beautiful down there, but you're taking a little bit extra risk. It's not to say you shouldn't go. I'm not trying to cause panic, but if you go, you have to understand the increased risks. You're going into like a Al-Qaeda camp, okay? That's what it is because the whole area is saturated with these cartels and these terrorists. So you just have to be aware. But right now, things are settling down, and I think, operations are going to continue, which is a good thing.
Derek Maltz, former acting administrator for DEA, joining Jeff and Bill live. We appreciate your time, sir. And I kind of want to follow up what you're talking about with safety and security of possible people coming out of Colorado and the rest of the U.S. visiting Mexico. First, I just want your kind of opinion on why, even though Americans have known for decades that cartels operate in and around, especially the resort towns, why we feel so safe going there. And more importantly, how quickly is this cartel going to try to put the pieces back together and possibly enact revenge on the federal authorities that came down on the guy up top? What I'm looking for is this thing going to settle down for a while and then flare back up, maybe close to the World Cup coming up later this year?
Great question. So again, I do believe, my personal opinion is that they are fearing this government in America. They know that the administration is very serious. They've seen what happened, that spectacular operation in Venezuela. The flawless extraction of Maduro was like for the world to see the power of the U.S. Military. And so I think that it looks like they're already regrouping. It looks like Mencho's stepson could possibly be pushed into the leadership role. We'll see what happens. But look, whenever you have a large event like the World Cup with attention around the world, these guys could be maybe plotting something. But in reality, the Mexican government, the special forces, the U.S. intelligence is going to be pushing information to them. And I feel that it's going to be a safe event. I hope I'm right. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think that they're just going to get smarter, and they're going to just pick and choose, different locations to maybe cause some havoc. It's not going to go away. So to answer your question, yeah, they will be, engaging in other stuff over time. It's just a matter of where and when. But they're not just going to roll over, that's for sure. They have to be decimated, removed from the face of the earth. And that's what this government can do. We hope one day that the Mexican government and the president recognizes that she could use the U.S. Special Forces expertise. And I'm not suggesting that the U.S. would be involved in a ground war or something like that. But we have some powerful capabilities, powerful technology to kind of just decimate them. And like I said, remove them from the face of the earth. And so this is kind of what I think should be done. Obviously, there's sovereignty issues, and I'm not an expert on the diplomatic relations, but, President Sheinbaum, she's on a roll now. She should take advantage of the resources of the U.S. Department of War, since it's the best in the world.
She's on a roll now. That's Derek Maltz, former acting administrator, Drug Enforcement Administration, 28 years with the DEA, served as top dog in the Trump administration, second term. Final question. You've been very generous with your time. You guys launched the One Pill Can Kill initiative with the DEA. Important message to parents out there. As we wrap up, what's your message to parents with kids growing up with this fentanyl crisis in our country?
Couple of things. Number one, my hat goes off to the DEA. I was not in the DEA when they launched this messaging campaign and the marketing campaign. And I got to tell you, DEA's job is to go after bad guys and remove them from the community and do their job developing evidence. DEA's never really had the priority of educating the country, but DEA's leadership stepped up in all the different divisions, including Colorado. They were very actively involved, and they started taking this as a side mission to make sure the public knew, because honestly, the other elements of government failed miserably. We couldn't even get freaking accurate stats from CDC. Every night during COVID, you saw, record amounts of COVID cases, COVID deaths. Every county had stats. But these poor kids were dying all over the country, and we didn't even know how many people died. So what I would say is that the people in America need to pretty much wake up. Because, like I said, this is not just about fentanyl. We're just getting caught up on fentanyl, and the Chinese criminals are already bombing us with much more lethal substances that are in these illicit, that are totally contaminated the illicit drug supply. So nothing's safe. That's the bottom line. Cocaine production in Colombia is off the charts. There's more cocaine coming into America. The methamphetamine is off the charts. And so people have to pay more attention. This is about your kids. I don't care how smart, I don't care how rich, I don't care how athletic the kids are. You have to really dig into. So I'm hoping with the work with law enforcement agencies and the new drug czar, who's my friend, Sarah Carter, they're going to do a much better job illuminating the messages so the public wakes up. And I hope that the national media on all sides. This is not a red or a blue issue. It's a red, white, and blue issue. Every American should care. I've been saying that for about 5 years now because we made it too political. Because the past administration made a decision to open the border wide open and let these people in. And I'm not talking about the poor people that want a better life. I'm talking about the criminals that are all over our country, and they took advantage of the weakness, and they set up operations to move these drugs and move these people. So, parents, wake up, pay attention. Don't just, watch one news station. Watch all the stations so you can get a fair representation of facts, and then you can evaluate it and protect those kids because it's the future.
Derek Maltz, former acting DEA administrator. He's top dog in the Trump administration. DEA out there fighting the good fight on the front lines for 28 years with DEA. God bless you, sir. God bless your brother who gave his the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan. And follow Derek Maltz on X at @DerekMaltz_SR. Derek Maltz Sr. Sir, thank you. Great interview.
Thank you so much.
One last thing. Just a shout out to Dave Oleski and his outstanding team. Stefan has been amazing ever since he joined out there. He brought his expertise from the media industry, and DEA is lighting it up on all fronts. Thank you.
You do have a great one with Stefan. Absolutely. And David, the whole team there. I've got a chance to meet them. I went through the whole civic training program with the DEA, and the best part of it all was getting a chance to meet the wonderful men and women on the front lines keeping our community safe. That's Derek Maltz. Thank you, sir. We'll continue.
Yes, thank you.
More of the Jeff and Bill Show to come. 710 KNUS in Denver.
And now on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you get to hear both sides. We are the Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS in Denver.
And now on AM 1460 FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show where you get both sides. That was a great interview with a former acting director of the DEA, Derek Maltz. I did have a bone to pick with one thing he said.
Was it the bad word?
Although I think it was directed at the media.
I think so.
I think that's who he
We're
was
going to go with that one, yes.
to. And believe me, there's many a times. But he was on the front lines of the whole TDA Aurora thing and, lambasted the voters, rightfully, in my mind, for replacing Danielle Jurinsky, who demonstrated that Aurora was getting safer. Like, the study showed it. And then the voters are like, we hate anything conservative, and went out there and replaced her. But here's the bone I had to pick was when he said we've never been in a position to really educate. And I was like, I sat through like 5 years of DARE education when
I remember
I was
the
a
t-shirts.
kid.
Yeah.
Right? Nancy Reagan. Right?
Oh, yeah. Just say no.
Just say no.
Yep.
And all
here's
that
your brain
stuff.
on drugs and the egg in the frying pan, all the stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So we definitely had a bit of education. I think there was some stupidity that worked its way into the whole kind of like mid-90s, like the war on drugs failed. I'm like, that's like saying because we haven't eliminated rape in this nation that the war on rape has failed.
Well,
no, you have an ongoing problem. You need to continue to address it.
For me, it was, the war on a noun is hard.
Terrorism?
Because there's no way to win. I mean, how do you know when you've won the war on drugs? It's the same thing when you hear a lot of liberal politicians come out and say, we're going to go to war against poverty or homelessness. How the hell do you know when you've won? It's the use
LBJ.
of it's the use of a word to make you feel like we're taking it significantly seriously, but not really doing a ton of the hard work. I think it's more of a marketing slogan, and that's part of why I think some of that didn't work. Because with the war on drugs, people turned around and went, see, a lot of people doing cocaine and there's meth and it seems like the drugs are winning the war. When we have more overdoses, when we have more people using, when we have more trafficking. So I think that's kind of a bad idea. The education, I think, is what was severely lacking when Stephen Tubbs went through and looked at the fentanyl epidemic here in Colorado. That was a lot of what he ran into. Parents and even kids not understanding what they're getting into, down to the point of buying that pill that the person, your friend at high school or college or wherever, said is a decent dealer. You don't know if those pills are actual pharmaceuticals or pressed by some sort of kitchen table chemist.
Yep.
And without knowing and just trusting, especially in that type of an illegal transaction, well, bad things happened because people were taken advantage of and lied to, and some people just didn't care. So that, I think, is the idea of education, knowing that you can't, in any real reasonable way, figure out what's inside of that pill you buy for a couple of bucks from your friend, or they hand it to you at a party or whatever it is. There's no safety and security in that actual pill or that pharmaceutical. And I think that's part of the problem is inside of fentanyl, it's not always the same thing as you think heroin. You got to cook it in many ways. You've got to sit there, you've got to prep it, and then you've got to figure out a syringe and inject it into your body, where fentanyl can be put into something as easy as a capsule you can take with a glass of water.
You're right about that. And I think, too, we've had this weird bifurcated message to young people with regards to drugs.
Oh,
okay?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
on one hand, you have the one pill can kill. Like you take this one time and you might never recover. On the other hand, we have decriminalized psilocybin. Take the shrooms, smoke the pot, have some fun. And I think kids are like, okay. So, and then the pot's gotten a lot more troublesome, problematic as the THC concentration has gotten higher. So you're not smoking ditch weed from the 60s or 70s anymore. this is like really potent stuff. Then you got the edibles. Who knows what's in the mushrooms at this point, right? And the long-term impact of that, right? And everybody, apparently, I've never taken shrooms, but apparently you trip. That's different all the time. That can't be good. People getting behind the wheel. So this drug message we have in our culture of like, oh, yeah, have some fun, kids. Meanwhile, one pill will eliminate you from this earth. I think we got to get a lot more serious with that other stuff. That's why I hate the pot and the psilocybin, is because not everybody who does that goes on to do harder drugs, but everybody who does harder drugs pretty much started with that stuff.
Well, I would disagree on that one. Pretty much everybody does harder drugs starts with tobacco or alcohol. Those are normally the main gateway drugs. One of those two. Then very few people that I've come in contact with, or even in the research, start with marijuana and go forward. Many of them start nicotine, alcohol. And primarily, that's because of availability. It's much easier to get a hold of a beer or a cigarette than it is to get a hold of marijuana. Marijuana's a lot easier inside of Colorado to get a hold of, but it is infinitely easier to get a hold of a beer or a six-pack. I mean, if you really, really wanted to do it and you had to get beer, you could run into the grocery store and just run out the door and hope you can outrun the security guard. So it's nuts
Bill
if you really
Thorpe
wanted
at
it.
640 with the argument for prohibition. All right.
Or the argument of understanding the reasonability as far as where it goes, and the idea that when we point to this thing being the gateway, that maybe we've just decided that there are these other drugs that are socially acceptable. We're not really against all the drugs. We just have decided which ones are socially acceptable. And that's a kind of an issue.
Maybe we should get some clarity on all this. And some consistency. All right, Billy, did you see this shooting that took place off the Cuban coast?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was reading a couple of things about it.
Highly
It's
unusual.
Yeah, and
Rubio.
differing ideas about it, and differing stories about what actually happened. So I'm kind of curious as far as, because not unexpectedly, what we're hearing from U.S. officials is different than what we're hearing from Cuban officials. But that's normally expected in something like this, simply because we don't get along.
International thing.
And we don't get along. They're not our allies, so why would we track with the same narrative?
My favorite was Baghdad Bob. Do you remember this guy?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
from
of course. Yeah.
I think it was the first Iraq War.
Yeah,
where
with
he's
Stormy
like,
Norman Schwarzkopf.
Everything's great. We're winning, and you could see like the lights shaking behind them, and they're getting bombed into oblivion.
That was fantastic.
So don't trust the media.
It reminds me, and this
countries.
is regardless of what administration. They remind me of having the job of the president's press secretary. Because I don't care, whatever administration you're under, that's kind of your job. I mean, you don't have the missiles behind you, but you got to stand there going, no, what hole in the dam? No, there's no hole in the dam. That little kid has his thumb in there, everything's going to be fine. And that's regardless of party. It's just universal.
I think I chased this guy down one time to see whatever had happened to him. I think he ended up in like Qatar or something.
Oh, wow.
Post-war life.
Probably doing an OnlyFans where you get to see his feet or something. I'm sorry, that's inappropriate. But I couldn't help myself. Yeah, I couldn't help myself.
The British newspaper in 2003 reported that he had been captured by coalition troops. In 2004, he had been hired by Abu Dhabi TV to provide analysis. Yeah, and by 2008, he was living in UAB. Or United Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
So there you go. Baghdad Bob. But yeah, according to a statement released by the Cuban Ministry of the Interior, the ship, which was from Florida, apparently, was 1 nautical mile northeast of El Pino Canal, which is just off the Cuban coast. 5 Cuban border guards moved in to identify the individuals, and the speedboat opened fire, the statement claims. The commander of the Cuban boat was injured, and the 6 injured on the speedboat were transferred for emergency assistance. The statement did not indicate who was in the Florida registered speedboat or why it had entered Cuban waters and opened fire. Rubio said no U.S. government personnel were involved in the shooting. Yeah, just like the Bay of Pigs. Was this like a little minor Bay of Pigs?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering.
This time we're sending one boat. Telling reporters it's highly unusual to see shootouts in the open seas like that. It's not something that happens every day. It's something, frankly, that hasn't happened with Cuba in a very long time. Rubio has not provided any further details on the incident, saying he was not going to speculate what it could have been. Here's the crucial quote, according to Forbes. The reason why things are as bad as they are is because they have an economic model that does not exist, Rubio said, referring to Cuba's faltering economy, which has been impacted by government mismanagement, U.S. sanctions, and a fuel crisis. Representative Jimenez of Florida called for an investigation into the shooting to determine whether any of the victims were U.S. citizens or legal residents. Fascinating fact, Cuba and the United States are separated by just 90 miles of ocean. That's quick. That's smaller, I think, than between us and Vail.
Yeah.
Here in Denver.
Oh yeah, it is closer than here and Pueblo, because Pueblo is about 110 miles, or 101, 110, somewhere in there. So it's closer than the drive to Pueblo. In fact, it is so close that I have heard that when on vacation, Sarah Palin can see it from the beach.
Good Saturday Night Live skit. The Florida Straits are among the most heavily monitored maritime corridors in the Western Hemisphere after decades of migration attempts and drug trafficking attempts. What do you think is happening down there? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's talk modern, rugged leather. From city streets to mountain trails, your gear should go wherever life takes you. That's why at Modern Rugged Leather, every bag is handcrafted from premium, responsibly sourced leather. Designed to look sharp, last long, and tell a story of its own. Each stitch, buckle, strap reflects timeless craftsmanship and is backed by a lifetime warranty, because quality shouldn't quit when the adventure begins. So whether it's the boardroom or the back roads, Modern Rugged Leather helps you carry confidence every step of the way. This is my go-to daily bag. It's what I got my laptop in, when I got my documents in, my daily travel bag when I'm out, because we got kids in every activity imaginable. So I spend most of my afternoons in a library somewhere doing work while waiting for one kid to finish another thing. It's like this big military operation to move everybody. This is my go-to bag. Modern Rugged Leather, modern style, timeless durability, backed for life. Life's going to take you places, folks. Make sure your gear keeps up. Shop the full collection and find yours today at modernrugged.com. Again, that's modernrugged.com. More of the Jeff and Bill Show, plus You Choose the News coming up. You're listening to us on 710 KNUS in Denver.
And now waking up with AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you hear both sides. We're doing the funny stuff next. This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show, where you get both sides. And now it's time for a little frivolity on this Thursday morning with Bill Thorpe's You Choose the News.
Yes, it's time for America's favorite fake radio news game show. This is You Choose the News. If you're just joining us for maybe the first or second time, I scour interwebs throughout the morning. I find really dumb stories about us humans. It's remarkably easy. Then I give them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Why in the world would we be wasting valuable airtime this early in the morning? Well, Jeff and I found out that nobody that has any power at all over the radio station doesn't wake up until 7 o'clock. So once we found out we are left completely and totally unsupervised this hour, we are taking as much advantage as we feel we can without getting fired tomorrow. So this is it. All right, enjoy it. And remember, this is just a giant secret. Shh. Blake Olson joins us from the news department. Jeff Hunt still in the studio. Gentlemen, this morning's choices. Headline number 1, beauty is only skin deep. Headline number 2, Skynet launches testing phase. Headline number 3, not for drive-through. And headline number 4, legs of death. Mr. Hunt, your choice.
Beauty is only skin deep.
Yes, beauty is only skin deep. And recently, what was supposed to be a celebration of tradition, beauty, and everything fantastic in Oman has suddenly come crashing down. After 20 contestants in a local beauty show were disqualified for cosmetic enhancements? That seems weird. Oh, wait. This is the 2026 Camel Beauty Show Festival in Oman. During the prelims, veterinary inspectors discovered that several contestants, read camels, had been altered with substances more commonly associated with cosmetic clinics of Beverly Hills. Things like hyaluronic acid injections using to plump up those sexy camel lips. Dermal fillers, so they're not as wrinkly. Silicone was also applied in certain areas, refining their nasal profiles. Botox softened those wrinkly facial features because being out in that harsh desert sun and wind can be difficult on a camel's skin. Some camels were even given hormones to enhance muscle tone. Ooh, pump them up. And silicone wax was used to inflate the humps, just like they do with the ladies in Beverly Hills. Pumping up the, okay, never mind. Anyway, organizers under the Camel Club and Oman Camel Racing Federation issued a firm response. We are keen to halt any of the acts that are tempering or deceptive for the beautification of our camels. Now, this is a really, really serious business. Not the first camel scandal for beauty contest in the Gulf region, but since it is such a tradition, the prizes can start at $1 million, and regional prizes can be in excess of tens of millions.
Really?
Yeah, so that's why they're doing all the cheating.
Part of me would want to mock this and laugh at this a lot, but then have you been to the National Western Stock Show?
Yeah, I know. We saw that too.
They're not injecting things, but holy cow, those cows are treated like little Pomeranians.
The amount of hairspray that is used on cow rear ends and tails to make them look right is just remarkable. I'm just saying, I learned a lot. Okay. Blake Olson, sir. Skynet launches testing phase, not for drive-through or legs of death.
Not for drive-through.
Definitely not for drive-through. Dunkin' Donuts is testing a brand new coffee size, but only testing them in a few locations. Yeah, Dunkin's largest size right now is 24 ounces. This next one, you may not want to grab it if you're rolling through the drive-through. It's a 48-ounce bucket of coffee.
Whoa,
and I do mean bucket because they do serve it in a bucket.
No way.
Yes, they offer a refresher option, which is the cold one for $9.49, and the regular traditional is $8.89.
A gallon.
Yes, half a gallon of diuretics, and that's why you don't do it in the drive-thru, because doing the potty dance. So right now, it is just available in Amherst and a few other locations in Massachusetts. Wow. They're testing it there. Dunkin' has previously tested a lot of new products inside of Massachusetts, so not that unusual. They've done the popping bubble iced tea, sparkling Dunkin' refreshers, the summer shandies, iced coffee, all of that test in Massachusetts. So let's see if we get a bucket of coffee.
Wait for the lawsuit when someone goes through the drive-thru and the bucket spills.
Okay. Jeff, your choice here. Skynet launching testing phase or legs of death? Skynet. In East Hollywood, a resident said she's become the latest victims of Coco food delivery robots. The robot uprooted her garden, got tangled in her fence, and then drove away. Not the first time the Coco robots have gotten into problems, running into cars and people in Hollywood. I think Skynet is just testing things before trying to take over the world. Just, it's a thing. Alrighty. That's it. That's the end of You Choose the News. Remember, watch for the Terminators. They're coming. Back to you, Jeff.
Robots with buckets of coffee?
Oh, they can just pour them on top, and you can just shred them out.
Yeah,
It's easy that way.
That's how we fight back.
Yes,
Dunkin'
it is.
Donuts preparing us to fight back.
Grab your
against
bucket.
the Terminators. All right, coming up, we're going to talk with Kelly Caulfield, Executive Director, Common Sense Institute. What did Palantir's leaving cost us?
I'm glad you
Jeff
had to
and
say
Bill
that.
Show.
We'll be right back.